It's important after you finish a film to do an audit with yourself on what worked, what went wrong, and what lessons you're going to take forward with you into your next project. And I just finished my third small short film where I shot it, I directed it, I wrote it, I edited it, and I made each of these 3 short films for less than $2,000. They all had 1 to 2 locations, so they're almost like a little trilogy even though they have nothing to do with each other. And despite the fact that these were 3 tiny projects, I walked away from them with 3 huge lessons. And make sure you stick around for lesson number 3 because it really is the biggest make or break factor for any aspiring filmmaker. Lesson number 1 is time or team. So either don't do it all, don't be a hero, or do it all, but give yourself plenty of time to do it. The first of these 3 short films was Hawaii, and that was coming off the heels of Will the Machine, which was the biggest short film I'd done, talking about at least a dozen crew members on set every day. And I wanted to scale it all down, do something a little more personal, intimate, and to be quite honest, cheap, because I was completely broke after Will the Machine. And for this one, I had no crew whatsoever. It's just me and the actors, didn't even have a production assistant. So I had to be meticulously prepared, and I took a long time preparing that film. I couldn't let anything go wrong, because if something as simple as forgetting a battery or something like that happened, then I wouldn't be able to run off to set. It would pretty much tank the entire day. So over preparing is how you get through a solo one-man band production like that. I go into some more detail about that particular film in this video here if you want to check out how I over prepared. But if you want to look at my next film, Last Laugh Inc., in that one I had a little bit more support. I had a friend helping me produce, I had a sound person on set, and I had my girlfriend doing makeup and the camera slate and all that. But the thing about that film was I wrote that script and I was immediately chomping at the bit to go film it. I said, okay, in 1 to 2 weeks, I'm going to make this thing happen. Fortunately, the actors' schedules did not work out. I had to wait for a month until everybody had an open window of availability, and we filmed it then. And that was the biggest blessing in disguise for that production, because that extra couple of weeks I got to prep that film allowed me to make a full animatic of the film, which, check out the video I made about doing that. Basically, I had a storyboarded visualization of the entire film with the sound of the film, and I could completely time out how I wanted everything to work before I even got onto set. I was able to do rehearsals with the actors, which is probably the biggest thing to help out preparing that film. And I was also able to go to the location and do camera tests. So all of this meant that when I walked onto set for that film, I felt incredibly confident that I knew what I wanted to get and how I was going to get it. Now, the flip side of this was the most recent short film, The Little Helpers, because that was a holiday short. I had to get it done super fast, and I was doing even more responsibilities than I did on Last Laugh Inc. So I only had maybe 10 days from once I finished the script and decided, okay, this film is a go. And the result of that is I walked onto that set way less confident than I did Last Laugh Inc. I didn't feel nearly as prepared. Fortunately, it all worked out. I got everything done, but I did definitely make some mistakes, which I showed in my Fix It and Post video, but I don't think I would have made those mistakes if I'd had that extra, say, 2 weeks to prepare like I had for Last Laugh Inc. And I can guarantee you it would have been a much less stressful experience trying to do it all myself if I'd had that extra time. So the moral of the story, don't be a hero, give yourself the time to do it, or bring on help and learn to delegate those responsibilities to people who can take the burden off your shoulders and make a better product at the end of the day too. Somebody commented that they hate my little lip smacking sounds, so staying hydrated for you. And that brings us to point number 2, which is play to your strengths and accommodate your weaknesses. Short films are usually pretty simple conceptually. You're working off of like one main idea, right? So make that idea something that's going to be able to flex your strongest filmmaking muscles, not something that's going to put your weaknesses front and center for everybody to see. As I said in the making of videos for The Little Helpers, I was able to elevate that project in post, and I went into that project knowing I was going to do that because I've been working as an editor for years, and it's something I feel very comfortable with and know what I can kind of get away with. For Last Laugh Inc., the strength of that project was I had 3 actors who were friends in real life who I've worked with before. I know their strengths very well, and I knew they were going to be able to kill each of the roles they were assigned. Conversely, if you look at my weaknesses here, I am not the best at anything art department related, right? So production design, I never really know what to do. I never have enough time to put into it. So for Hawaii, we're shooting at a location that's a cemetery. There's no art department, no production design needed. All I had to do was rent an old car, drive it over there. The house that we filmed at for that thing was already a tiki themed house. The short's called Hawaii. It was perfect. All I had to do was move a few tiki things around. My job was done. For Last Laugh Inc., I leaned into the fact that I'm bad at production design by doing it in a completely empty white room. And for The Little Helpers, helpers. I chose a location that was already so perfect for what I wanted. I barely had to do anything. And that is how I accommodated my weaknesses for those projects. So a great lesson, not only for small projects like this, but for any project. Put your strengths front and center in your films, and any weaknesses you have, accommodate them either by giving yourself, again, like point one, extra time to prepare, or better yet, bring on somebody that specializes in that thing. You're going to eventually have to learn how to delegate responsibility and find people who are great at the things that you're weak at if you want to get to the next level as a filmmaker. By the way, in 2 out of 3 of these short films, I used gear provided by BorrowLenses.com. And the reason I love BorrowLenses.com is you can pick out the gear you want on their website, say how long you want it, and they're going to give you super low and transparent pricing on it and just ship it straight to your door. Once you're done, you just pack it back up, give it to the UPS store, and you're done. It doesn't get any easier than that to rent film gear. So you can save yourself hundreds or thousands of dollars on your project by renting the gear you need as long as you need it for. For Last Laugh Inc., I rented this wide angle lens that helped a lot with that film. For the little helpers, I rented these tube LED lights that were super handy, and a macro lens for some of the close-up shots. I put together my own starter kit on there, which you'll find linked in the description, and for $300, you can get all this stuff for a week. It's everything you need to go out and make your first film. And if it's your first order, use the code SSC20 at checkout. You'll get 20% off your first order from BorrowLenses.com. Thank you, BorrowLenses.com. Let's get back to the video. And lesson number 3, I think this is the most important factor for anybody who wants to be a prolific filmmaker, and that is be a bulldog. What I mean by that is once I committed to each of these 3 films, I absolutely refused to back down from that commitment. And I think that that kind of stubbornness is probably the strongest advantage you can have over everybody else if you want to be a prolific filmmaker. Compared to other art forms, film requires just so many people and things to align to make a project come to fruition. So even on tiny projects like this, I needed other people, I needed locations, I needed props, all kinds of things. But we live in the real world, right? And what's going to happen when you try to make a film? People are going to fall through. They're going to say they can't come after all. Locations are going to pull out at the last minute. It's suddenly going to rain. All this stuff is going to happen, and they're all going to try to destroy your film. I honestly believe that my biggest strength as a filmmaker isn't any kind of talent or whatever. It's just that when I set my mind on finishing some project, when these things come up, I just look at it like a fun challenge. Like, oh, okay, this isn't going to work out. Great. All right, fine. Good luck. Good luck. Come try me, bro. Come at me. See if I'm not going to finish this. See if I'm going to let my film die in the vine because of this. Absolutely not. Now, this stubborn bulldog mentality is great for these external factors that are going to come after your film. But another thing that this is going to help with, and that I don't hear a lot of people talk about, is the interpersonal and mental and emotional stresses that making a film creates. Now, for all 3 of these short films, I did not have anybody telling me, hey, Kent, you got to go make this thing. It's going to be so good. Come on, Kent, go make that thing. You can do it. No, in fact, it was actually a major inconvenience both to myself and the people closest to me when I tried to make these films. Take The Little Helpers, for example. This thing had to be done before Christmas, and I didn't have a lot of time. So I was just working all day, every day. I wasn't getting, my family's Christmas gifts. I was falling way behind on that. I wasn't spending time with my girlfriend and my friends. I felt like I was letting the people I was closest to in my life down just by being so unavailable while I worked all day, every day on this film. And that was kind of the case for all of these projects. Unfortunately, when you have a goal you're trying to accomplish, you're usually going to have to make some sacrifices to get there. And especially for a film, once you get into that crunch time, they can be kind of steep. But here's where it gets really scary. And if you're another filmmaker, I'm sure you'll relate to this. You're spinning plates, trying to keep your film from dying on the vine. You got people complaining that you're off in la la land while you're doing it. Then this happens. You start to doubt the entire film. You think, this film's gonna suck. Like, every idea I come up with this is so boring, and why am I even bothering? I don't think this film deserves to exist. And I'm just kind of killing myself to make sure that it does. Maybe the reason it keeps trying to fall apart is that it's supposed to fall apart. But let me tell you, this is the moment where the Bulldog Spirit is the most important, because you literally have to make your lack of self-confidence take a back seat to your stubbornness if you want to finish your film in this situation. Because for literally every film project I've done, there were days where I just seriously considered scrapping the entire film. I was just down on myself, down on my ideas, and thought, it's not worth it. It's not worth the struggle. And in that moment, you have to tell yourself this. You have to say, okay, fine, the movie's going to suck, but I'm going to finish this sucky movie anyways, because when I made the commitment to make this film, I thoroughly believed in it. And in this moment where I'm not believing in it, All I can do is trust that initial instinct about the film that made me say, I'm going to make this film. And after a day or two of thinking like that, usually you get back on board with the film and you're like, no, it's going to be great. I don't know what I was talking about. I was worried about nothing. So for me, that is the biggest lesson I can take away from these small films. When you're not working with a big team, especially people who are co-writing or co-directing or producing from the very beginning with you, it's all on you to get the momentum forward and to carry the ball to the goal line. And if you want to do that, once you make that commitment to say, okay, I'm going to make this film, all you can do is put your blinders on, put your head down, and just plow forward no matter what comes at you, including yourself. That's how you finish a film, especially when you're working solo. All right, so I'm going to pop up some things here to go see these films, but again, team or time, play to your strengths, and be a bulldog. Get out there, be active, and go make a film. There's no reason not to. Use your phone. It doesn't matter. You're going to learn a shitload in the process. All right, that's it. I'll see you all next time.